Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, I want to talk about some free agent forwards that maybe the Maple Leafs can look to target. And this is definitely not going to be the first video that I do on free agent forwards that the Maple Leafs can target, but it's just a starting point, I guess. And just so we understand how much cap space the Toronto Maple Leafs have this offseason, with this lineup, they'd have just over $10 million to spend. And this is before they would lose anyone to the Seattle expansion draft. This is assuming players like Timothy Liljegren and Nick Robertson take steps and join the team next year. Guys like Adam Brooks filling in lineup spots and no other trades, of course. Now there's 17 names on the board here, and it's sorted by expected goals above replacement from this past season. And 17 names is a lot, obviously. We're going to condense that as we go, because the important thing to remember here is, what does the team need? Well, if a guy like Zach Hyman isn't coming back next year because he's asking for anywhere between $5.5 and $6.5 million for more than 4 or 5 years, they need someone to fill that role. And maybe it's not just one player, maybe they do it by committee. So if we're looking at the type of player that Zach Hyman has been for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the last couple of seasons, just by the sheer number of minutes that he's played on the penalty kill, I'm going to say that they need someone to play on the penalty kill, but also, he's been a guy, whichever line he's playing on, that goes in and gets the puck back, while also being a bit defensively responsible, and he's kind of rounded out his game over the last couple of seasons to be a guy who can carry the puck, can pass it off, and can score a few goals here and there. So right away, a forward that a lot of people would look at would be Blake Coleman on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is a guy who I think could replace Zach Hyman just on his own. He can be defensively responsible, he can pass the puck, he can shoot the puck, he can carry it, and he can drive play. But most importantly, he's going to be a bit cheaper than Zach Hyman. And on evolvinghockey.com, they're projecting his contract to be about 4 years and $4.7 million a season, which I'd be pretty comfortable with. That's about the contract that I wanted to give to Zach Hyman. 4 seasons and anywhere between $4 and $5 million. But he will be 30 years old this November. He's 8 months older than Zach Hyman, so a 4-year deal will take him until he's 34 years old. Preferably, it would be a 3-year deal because that's when you'd have to renegotiate with Matthews and Nylander, but I don't mind giving him the 4th year there because you also have guys like Muzzin and Brody expiring in the same offseason, so you're going to have a lot of money to work with when re-signing guys like Matthews and Nylander. So the 4th year isn't that big of a deal because then you also have guys like Tavares and Marner who are expiring the year afterwards. And if it's a 4-year deal, his contract would be expiring too. But if you can't get Blake Coleman or you think that contract's a little bit too rich, there's not really another one player who can replace Zach Hyman. So maybe that needs to be done by committee. And if you're looking to replace Zach Hyman's offense, what about a guy like Brandon Saad? He's coming off kind of a rich contract, but he's really fast. He's really good at moving the puck. And team speed is something that the Maple Leafs have kind of lost over the last number of years with guys like Kasperi Kapanen, Nazem Kadri, and even Connor Brown departing. Don't tune out on this player. Trust me, there's a reason why I'm talking about him. I know that he's been healthy scratched by Montreal. I know that he's only played 5 games in the playoffs, but if you're looking to replace just the offensive value that Zach Hyman brought to the team, because Tatar's not a puck hound, he could definitely do that. But with only about $12 million to play with this offseason, and RFAs like Jesperi Kotkaniemi to re-sign, and guys like Philippe Deneau and Yoel Armia who have played big roles in their playoff run this season, I don't necessarily know if they have the money to re-sign Tomas Tatar, but I don't even know if they want to. And the point is that they are absolutely driving his value into the ground. Can you get Tomas Tatar on a 1-year deal? Can you get him on a 2-year deal? Is that more preferable than giving 5 or 6 seasons to Zach Hyman, or signing Blake Coleman until he's 34, or committing more term to a guy like Brandon Saad? Because yeah, there may be guys who you would prefer over Tomas Tatar, but if you can get him on a 1 or 2-year deal, that's massive. That has a lot of value. There's a lot less risk involved there, and he's a good player. I don't know what's going on in Montreal, but he's a good player, especially if it's a 1-year deal. I would overpay for Tomas Tatar on a 1-year deal because he's a good player, and it gives you so much flexibility moving forward. And like I was explaining towards the end of my previous video, the scope of this offseason isn't too much different as to what it was last offseason. there's a lot of good players who signed 1 or 2 year deals last year, and there's a couple of them that are on this list. Guys like Mike Hoffman, Mikael Granlund, Matthias Janmark. Galchenyuk was a guy who the Leafs found value in. Eric Halla's pretty low on my list of guys who I would be pretty excited for, but he's another guy who put up some points last year who signed a 1 year deal. The Panthers were a team that a lot of people were paying a lot of attention to, and they did a lot of retooling up front with their forwards, and they did it solely in the clearance section of last offseason, getting guys like Carter Verhaeghe, Anthony Duclair, and Alexander Wenberg on 1 or 2 year absolute sweetheart contracts. And if you're looking at the list of free agents, or if you're looking at my list that I put together and you're not too excited by them, or you don't like the chances of the Leafs getting any of them, there's going to be a lot of RFAs this year, just like last year, who don't receive qualifying offers, like a guy like Anthony Duclair. There's going to be players like him available this offseason who we just don't know about yet. There's going to be a lot of guys available via trade because of money situations that we're just not hearing about right now because it hasn't come up yet. And like I said at the beginning of the video, you may not be able to get one guy who replaces Zach Hyman. You may need to do it by committee. And if you can convince a guy like Nick Foligno to stay on a 1 year deal worth about $2.5 million, I would 100% do that. He would be able to fill those minutes for you on the penalty kill and also be that puck hound. And he also had some decent chemistry with Matthews and Marner in a small sample before he got injured. And I know these numbers are kind of individual and isolated to him, but if he was playing on the Leafs all season, I imagine these numbers would be a little bit better, especially playing with Matthews and Marner. Hear me out on this, because I think I have a line of thinking that makes sense. Is the team that's on the screen right now, and answer it honestly, is the team that's on the screen right now good enough to make the playoffs next year? Just the playoffs. I'm talking third spot in the division or even a wild card. You don't need to build the team that wins you the Stanley Cup for opening night. It's just not the case. It would sure damn be nice to head into the season as Stanley Cup favorites and to just have that all-world destroying team. But that's not the position that the Leafs are in right now, so we have to focus on the best that they can do. If you fill a couple of holes through free agency, maybe you find some value. I brought up the Florida Panthers. They were able to sign guys like Anthony Duclair, Carter Verhaeghe, and Alexander Wenberg, and they gave them a lot of value in their lineup. They found cheap players that gave them value. That's what you're looking to do in free agency. You're looking to fill holes with value contracts and value players. And even though I have a placeholder here for $5 million, that could be someone who takes a 1 or 2 year deal. You can head into the beginning of next season not really sure what to expect from guys like Nick Robertson, Rasmus Sandin, and even Timothy Liljegren. No, you shouldn't be 100% counting on them to fill holes in your lineup, but you should definitely lean on them a little bit, because if you find out that you can lean on them, that's massive to be able to get impact from those players. The Leafs need to be giving their better prospects, especially those 3 guys, opportunities to show whether they can or can't do it. But if any of those guys can step up and be impactful in the lineup and give you value, you're laughing, because they're on such good value contracts right now. And that's how you create depth that wins in the playoffs, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't do anything at the deadline. No, that means that you still go out there and you acquire those good players at the deadline, but you do so knowing that you're bumping really good players in the lineup down and not just acquiring guys to fill holes where you didn't really have anything before. And now you might be saying to yourself, Steven, how are you going to do that with only $445,000 worth of cap space? In the 2019-2020 season, the last year where we were at least scheduled to have a regular 82-game season, $445,000 at the trade deadline would have allowed you to acquire a player with a face cap hit value of just over $2 million. Because if you divide that about $2 million cap hit by the number of days that are in the full season, that shows you how much that player is going to cost per day on your salary cap. But now if you got 50% salary retained on the player that you were acquiring, now you can afford to acquire a player with a face cap hit value of $4.1 million with only $445,000 worth of space. And if you got double salary retention, which is what the Leafs did with Nick Foligno, and it's what the Tampa Bay Lightning did with David Savard, that would mean with only $445,000 worth of cap space on trade deadline day, you could afford to acquire a player with a face cap hit value of $8.2 million. So now, let me ask you this question. Is the team that's on the screen right now, plus the potential to add maybe 2 players with face cap hit values totaling up to $8.2 million, enough to contend with those teams and possibly win 2 or 3 rounds? And once you do that, like the Montreal Canadiens are figuring out right now, anything can happen. So with all that being true, does this team really have cap issues? Do they really have cap issues? Or is the situation just not so straightforward? And if you're sitting there saying to yourself, oh, what are you going to give up to acquire those 2 players? What are you going to trade one of those prospects that you got in the lineup? No. You have other prospects, and you have first-round picks. The Lightning gave up 2 first-round picks. They gave up 2 first-round picks and another prospect who is a first-round pick for Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. And they won the Stanley Cup last year, and they looked pretty primed to do it again this year. So Timothy Liljegren doesn't work out in a top 4 role. Damn, what a shame. Go acquire a top 4 defenseman that is going to inevitably be available next season at the trade deadline. Do you need some more scoring oomph? Or maybe a better third-line center? You can go out there and you can acquire that. Do you need some goaltending depth? Yeah, you can afford to go out there and acquire that. So don't get pissy with me when I suggest stuff like this moving forward. I'm just going to refer you to this video, and you never know, I might make this video its own video. Like, I might just literally, I might just clip this part and upload it as a clip. So we got this big list. I didn't touch on everyone here. Mikael Granlund could have been an interesting option. The Maple Leafs were interested in him last offseason. We're interested in trading for him. I don't know. Matthias Janmark, they were interested in signing him last offseason. Do they circle back on that? I don't know. Guy like Mike Hoffman is only here because the power play is so dreadful and he's so good at it. Is he an option? I don't know. But one thing I do know, guys, is that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, remember, I'm going to be here.